because MLB was trying to raise funds for victims of Hurricane Katrina. The Mets batting helmets were adorned with the Red Cross insignia. On piazzas, it appeared to be an acknowledgement of all the scrapes and bruises, physical and otherwise, he'd absorbed since arriving at Shea on May 23, 1998. Piazza couldn't do for the inconsistent Zambrano what he'd done for Glavine 3 nights before. The Mets fell behind 2-0 in the first, 4-2 in the third, and 11-3 by the top of the seventh. Despite the strains of his vintage walk-up music, Jimi Hendrix's Voodoo Child's slight return filling the air each time he batted, Mike did not fulfill the fantasies of those who hoped he'd hit home runs 398, 399, and 400 on his way to destinations unknown. He grounded out 3 times against sinker-baller Aaron Cook. The lifetime .311 batter was hitting .251. The score, the over, the less than stellar current season stats were of little concern to the paid attendance of 47,718. One more victory would have been swell. The Mets, with 83 wins, their most since 2000, were trying to clinch sole possession of third place, and nobody would have minded number 31 going deep one more time. But Mike had given his all already. The idea in the crowd this Sunday was to give back. Who knew how many high fives were exchanged across 8 years because Piazza had just done something worth slapping palms over? How many 31s and how many t-shirts and jerseys were worn on how many chests and backs? How many posters of Mike in mid-swing were tacked or taped to how many walls in and around New York? How many kids were lured to Mets and baseball fandom because Mike came up to bat with runners on base and came through? How many adults raised on Seaver or Gooden had their metropolitan passions reignited because of a moment from 1999 or 2000? How many people had no idea who any other Met was but perked to the name Mike Piazza? He was a galvanizing figure 10 days after September 11th, 2001, and as soon as 6.5 innings went into the books on October 2nd, 2005, he was going to be one again. When Matt Holliday flied to Carlos Beltran for the final out of the top of the seventh, public address announcer Alex Anthony directed fans' attention to Diamond Vision. Up came a montage of Mike's biggest moments, set to The Great Divide, a song by Creed frontman Scott Stapp. There again on the big screen was the frontman for the Mets, catching and throwing, hitting and slugging, winning and trying. All the big swings, all the moments forever enshrined in memory. In the gauzy prism of recollection, there was no Brave, no Yankee, nobody who could stop Mike Piazza. The video ended and nobody could stop Mike Piazza's acolytes, all the 31s in the stands, rising in unison, roaring and clapping without interruption. Piazza, never the effusive curtain call type, would have to take a bow, not for having just done something specific, but simply for having been who he'd been the previous 8 seasons. He did, climbing out of the Mets dugout with his shin guard still on. It wasn't enough. The applause overflowed like the plumbing attended to in the upper deck mains rooms. He blew a few shy kisses. He raised his arms about 3/4 of the way up. He made the, "Oh, sit down," gesture, maybe leavened with a humble slice of, "We're not worthy." He dug back into the dugout, figuring he could turn off the faucets of affection if he stopped showing his face. He miscalculated. Nobody wanted to sit. Nobody wanted to stop. Nobody cared about the Mets playing the Rockies. Hell, the Rockies stood in front of their dugout and applauded just as the Mets stood in theirs and did the same. The 7th inning stretch/tribute went on for more than 7 minutes.
Wow.
An eternity in baseball. That's when you know you've done something right, marveled. That's when you know you're the man in New York. You don't see games put on pause that long unless an outside occasion demands it. You'd see it for Cal Ripken or Hank Aaron breaking unbreakable records. All Mike Piazza was doing was completing the terms of his contract. Perhaps as a celebration of everybody having gotten their money's worth. Eventually the game had to be shifted out of the park and driven toward its finish. Reyes made the last out of the bottom of the 7th, which meant Piazza would be due up in the bottom of the 8th. Except Randolph decided with the Mets down by 8, there was no point attempting to extract any more banging for the franchise's buck. Mike, who couldn't help but be emotionally spent by the reception he just soaked in, took his position one more time to start the 8th, but after warming up reliever Shingo Takatsu, he found himself replaced by 3rd stringer Mike DeFelice. The choreography allowed Mets fans, though disappointed there wouldn't be one more at bat, one more chance to shower him with adoration, and that they did. While they stood and applauded again, he rose from his crouch, removed his mask, flipped his helmet around to its front side, and revealed as enormous and boyish a smile as he'd ever displayed on the field at Shea Stadium. His 14th Major League season was over. His time as a New York Met was over. He was 37 years old with whatever was left of his baseball future unspoken for. Yet somehow, Mike Piazza never looked younger.
That was the end of Mike Piazza's
playing career in New York, just to sum up where the rest of the book goes, it follows him to San Diego, where he goes to work for the Padres, while the Mets, the new Mets, they take off. They bring in Paul LaDuca to be the catcher, ex-Dodger, Italian, perfect fit, just like Piazza. And the Mets are terrific in 2006. The Padres are pretty good. They come in to Shea Stadium in August. Piazza is wearing 33 because 31 has been retired, so he looks a little odd in a Padre uniform, but he doesn't. And he is greeted very warmly. He's not, oh, hey, we hate you, you're with the other team. No, he was Mike Piazza. He transcended that. Got huge ovations the first night, got huge ovations the second night. He hits a home run off Pedro Martinez. He gets a standing ovation. He hits a second home run off Pedro Martinez. He gets less of an ovation because even though we're like a dozen games in front, it's still he almost hits a third home run. This one off Aaron Heilman. It would have won the game for San Diego. It wasn't caught. Beltran, or didn't go out. Beltran caught it. They go their separate ways. From there, Mike plays one more year with Oakland. Comes back one more time. Actually, he's injured, unfortunately, but he brings out the lineup card for Oakland and gets a nice ovation. And that's the last time he's in Shea Stadium as an active player. He retires in 2008. Comes back as a retired player. At the end of that season, the Mets are closing Shea Stadium down. There's been a ballot to decide what is the most memorable moment in Shea Stadium history, top 10. Number 1, to nobody's surprise, is Bill Buckner's ground ball. Excuse me, Mookie Wilson's ground ball. Might as well be Bill Buckner's. Through the legs of Bill Buckner. Number 3 is the Miracle Mets winning the World Series in 1969. I don't know how that happens, except that younger people were online in 2008. So number 2, between the big moment from 86 and the big moment of 69, Mike Piazza hitting that home run in 2001. It becomes his calling card, really, for the rest of his life, all we can tell. He gets a big ovation. He's the number. He comes out after Willie Mays in the Shea goodbye. The Mets have just lost their last game ever at Shea Stadium. They've just been eliminated from the playoff picture for the second year in a row on the last day. So everybody's in a great mood. But this is now Field of Dreams territory. The old Mets are coming out from behind the cornfield, or at least the outfield fence, and they save for the last 3 guys. Are Willie Mays, who was only a Met for a little while, but he's Willie Mays. Then Mike Piazza, because it's understood he is now on that pantheon. And then Tom Seaver. And for the final act, Seaver on the mound, Piazza behind the plate, one last pitch. Arm in arm, they walk out center field gate together, close Shea Stadium. 6 months later, whether we wanted it or not, they open Citi Field. They bring back Seaver and Piazza to recreate the first pitch. And it's just a matter of time, based on arithmetic, that Piazza joins Seaver in the Hall of Fame. First ballot, we know how this works. We saw it in 1992. We can't wait. Except something does come up, suspicions of performance-enhancing drugs. All those years, all those great home runs, people didn't necessarily believe that everything was on the up and up. Here was the evidence against Piazza. Absolutely none. Other than, he sure hit a lot of home runs for a catcher, and something about his, reporters would say, we saw his back in the clubhouse. And yeah, he had some zits. You don't get that. And then they cleared up, and they started anyway, he got caught up in the same web that caught guys who were named in tests and testimony. And so we had to wait a few years for our moment. But it did come in 2016. And I can tell you the reason I wanted to write the book. Less because Piazza went into the Hall of Fame, although that was clearly the impetus to make it happen. It was the years in between, 13, 14, and 15, the years he didn't make the Hall of Fame was on the ballot, and how much the ire of Mets fans were raised because we didn't get what was coming to us, and we felt it on behalf of Piazza, felt it on behalf of ourselves. What do we want? We want validation as fans. We've been told for years, somebody's gonna go into the Hall of Fame as a Met again. We were waiting and waiting, and why isn't this happening? It's the greatest hitting catcher of all time. Well, it happens, and everything finally clicks. He's in the Hall of Fame, goes in with Ken Griffey, who breaks Tom Seaver's record, ironically, for the biggest percentage of the vote. He says in the Hall of Fame, signs off on, I want to go in as a Met. So a little insignia on the plaque meant so much to everybody. And then the Mets, who had done such a crappy job of honoring their history year after year, say, we're going to retire Mike's number. And they said in July, a week after he goes in the Hall of Fame, we're going to put it up there. They say they were going to move it, but out in left field where 41 was for Seaver, 37 for Casey Stengel, 14 for Gil Hodges, 42 for Jackie Robinson, retired throughout baseball, and insignias for Bill Shea and Ralph Kiner. But the Mets, so basically the Mets had done something about once a decade in their history, but as far as player numbers, only Seaver at that point. And that really is, the end of the story. We follow Piazza through his year of going into the Hall of Fame, of being honored by the Mets, and how much it meant to everybody. And he is, knock wood that he doesn't become O.J. Simpson, and people say, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, but I don't want to look at number 32. That's the only thing I can think of that would change the story. I'm assuming Mike Piazza, the rest of his life is on the up and up. He's the guy now. In fact, I'd say because Seaver is somewhat advanced in years and has dealt with Lyme disease and other things and is in California, Piazza's the guy who's going to come around. Piazza's the guy who came the first time the Mets hosted a World Series game in Citi Field. He's the guy who threw the first pitch. He's the guy that you don't have to be my age to remember. So he went from being this distant superstar in another part of the country while the Mets were floundering to the guy we point to. In fact, his speech when they retired his number, where he'd gone. If you remember him during his career, he could give good articulate answers, but he wasn't really a jovial guy. He really embraced the fact that Mets fans embraced him every one of these ceremonies. And if you recall, a year ago at this time, the Mets were sort of floundering, and Piazza was aware of that, and he says, I think I better get going so we can get this game in tonight. And the crowd booed because they don't want him to leave. So, they're hovering a little above 500. They're disappointing their followers. Mike, enshrined in a perpetual state of sepia slugging, can do no wrong. So, as in his final game as a Met, he doesn't want to overstay his curtain call, but he's also learned to take a hint. No, he vamps, you want to hang out a while? And, one more round of Mike Piazza ensues. Well, I want to say just a little bit of what it means to have my number retired for this great franchise, and for you amazing fans, Mike continues. This means I will always be up with you. And again, he takes out his index finger. He points up left field up at 31, which is where they put the numbers. So every time these guys, and he points to the Met dugout, and you need a little bit of inspiration, just give a little peek up there to old Mikey, and know that I'm back home watching you guys on TV, saying a lot of prayers, and he crosses himself. I'm praying for the Mets. Catcher then turns secular but grows serious. I truly love all you guys, Mike testifies, and I just want you to know you've given me an honor no man deserves and no player deserves. And I think about all that we went through, we lived through, from the beginning to the end. Today it's a new beginning, and I look forward again to coming back many, many years. God bless you guys. God bless your families, and let's go Mets. And the rest of that season, who's to say it wasn't because somebody looked up at 31, the Mets went on a roll. They went to the playoffs last year, didn't get back to the World Series, but that's where the story ends. The Mets in the playoffs, Mike, in Cooperstown, and we're waiting for our next Hall of Famer. So with that, if anybody has any questions or wants to say anything, please.
Have you ever met him?
I like to